Hi, she's Trixie, and I'm Sarah, and this is our Yarn World, a place where we come to share the love of yarn crafts and all that it gives us and what we hope it gives you. We're on episode 155 today, and it starts off the first week of the craftiest time of the year.
Yeah.
It is something we are going to do till Christmas hits, of us and our running to the end finish line of getting these crafts done that either we want to have whips that we want to have done by the end of the year that have been plaguing us, that we want to start the whole new year with nothing on holding us back for our creativity, or any gifts that we're trying to get done that have a deadline due to birthday/Christmas. So,
and you're welcome to join us.
Yes, so please follow along for this. Our channel has a bit of a history for us running down into Christmas festivities of us running around like chickens with our heads cut off. So please join us in the energy.
And make sure that you're letting us know what you're making, because that makes it more fun for us.
If we enjoy whoever is blessed by us just rambling and being able to feel some sort of camaraderie here, but you are more than welcome to share how you're doing with your craftiest time of the year.
And it doesn't have to be knitting or crocheting. It could be any craft.
Yeah, anything that is getting you ready for whatever holiday season this time of year has many, not just Christmas. We celebrate Christmas, but there's so many different holidays that happen around this time of the year that, like, whatever you celebrate or don't celebrate, even if it's just a commitment to yourself to have things off of your chest so that the end of the year can start fresh with a new, whatever that looks like for you, follow along. We just love to be on this journey of we're going to make this work. We're going to have this done.
And we're going to do it together.
Yes. So as always, follow along. And what have you been doing this week?
On the mosaic trail.
Good Lord. This has plagued you.
It has. And I'm getting there. I'm getting there, but I will show you what I'm working on. I want to show you the yarn first, though, because that was fun,
It's
too.
so pretty. What is it made out of?
This
I feel
is acrylic, and I think this one is, too. It's just got a shine to it.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't have the label for this. This is one of my thrift hauls. But I'm using this beautiful... it's got a sheen to it. So it's a nice deep red with a sheen on it. And I am using a Bernat mosaic yarn. I found this at the thrift store years ago, or maybe this year. I'm not sure. I just picked it up. I picked it up because it changes colors during this time.
Yes, it's ombre.
It's so pretty, and it goes through blues and greens. So it's a Bernat mosaic, and it's all different colors of blues and greens. Now I rolled mine up to use it, so see all the different colors. It goes all the way to almost black, and then switches colors. So it's got bright blues all the way to greens and all that. So this is what I'm using. Now please realize that when I started this, I thought I was doing good. But I have since realized
the error of your ways.
Yes, I did 2 dark colors.
You did colors of the same
tone.
Yeah.
And I should have picked a white or something lighter to go with the dark. Or the dark. Whatever I was using, I should have used a light and a dark. So here's what I'm doing. Oh, shoot. I will be right back. I forgot.
You're fine. Just go for it.
I forgot my pattern.
Dear Lord. I know that our lighting right now with the overheads is going to feel like this is a much more obvious contrast, because even when I was looking through the viewer, this looks like a much brighter to this, which in the light, it does look like it. But when I'm telling you, when it goes shadowed like that, when you're working on it, it, as you can see, is a very muted. They're both in the same vein of muted.
Yeah.
So I'm just letting you know, I do understand that in the light it might appear vibrant against a darker background, but it really does work up not that much unless you have such direct white light or, yeah.
Yeah.
So
my pattern is in a page protector. And
So smart.
I still have my graph paper line. Okay. So I left this on it because this is where I work on the line right below this piece of paper. And it's easier not to have a whole bunch of things going on. You can just count how many you need to do. I'm going to take it off. I did count where I'm at beforehand so I can get it back.
okay.
But I wanted to show you what I did. I wrote in cursive on graph paper, Merry Christmas.
Which is very pretty.
And then I filled in the squares. Now each square represents a stitch. And I tried it, I am trying it, and I'm working this out, right? And I'm going to show you.
It does not look that bad. Turn it
Well,
around.
thank you.
Let me see. It looked better over there.
So here we go.
God,
This is where I'm at. I'm so sorry. You work bottom to top, okay? So you
Yeah.
are working from the bottom of the pattern all the way to the top of the pattern.
Yes.
So I'm trying to get Christmas in here, and I'm
can see it.
getting to the point where I'm going to be getting Mary
Yeah.
in here.
Working bottom up.
But do you see what I'm talking about? It's you can see the red and you can see the colors. The colors are changing so pretty, but I should have had white in there. That would have popped a lot better. You would have seen it a lot better against all these different colors in the mosaic thread or the yarn. So I do have Christmas. It is in there.
It is there. You can see it. The only thing I was trying to say, and it came off so incredibly rude, and I am sorry, is that what I see when I see this is I always see this sort of stuff, and because it's on graphs and it's all squares, I look at it like pixel art.
Yeah.
And there's a level of doing it this way feels like you're setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah.
And I think the only reason is that there needs to almost be more, like doing all of it in one lined boxes.
I know.
It's too reliant on it to connect between the rows. And I think that you might need to make the words thicker by having more than one
They need to be
lines.
more block letters.
Yeah. And what we mean by that is that instead of you doing only one repeat, like this T is just these squares and these squares, having it be 2 rows for the T across to kind of create a much more bolder font and thickness for how you want, like instead of using a fine tip, using a Sharpie, so to speak, with how you were writing it out.
And I wanted to show you.
Pretty.
I wanted to show you what the back looks like because you are just doing one row at a time. So you have your red rows and you have your blue green rows. Now, because you're switching rows each time, it's either you're using the reds or you're using the blue-greens. But for me, I still wrote down that A was green and B was red, because sometimes you get in the middle of things and you're just looking at your A's and B's rows,
Yep.
and you're just like,
Yep. You just blank.
yeah. And I didn't want to do that during my thing, so I put that, I attached that with my paper clip to my graph paper that gives me, or I pull it up each row, and that way I've only got the one row right underneath this to work. Now when I get to the top, I'll probably be working the top of this thing so that I can work all the way up to the top rows. So I'll know that I have to work the row above this piece of paper. But this piece of paper saves me a whole lot of hassle trying to figure out where I'm at the whole time.
Yes.
Because it's bad enough just doing one row. If you've got an X here and an X here and an X here, or a whole row of X's, you need to know how many you're doing, because each X represents a front loop, or a front post double crochet that you go down 2 rows to get and connect the same color to. And you need to know how many you're doing, whether it's 1 or 14. I've been in a row of 14 for a while now. So I'm covering up the reds with the blues and the greens because that's my background. The reds are just the words. And so when I don't have any kind of lettering, I have background, and it makes sure that it covers it. But yeah, I'm still trying to figure this out. I've got patterns that I really want to do, but I want to get all these samplers done.
Like, get the kinks out.
Yeah, get the kinks out. Make sure I'm getting my colors right, because this could have looked a whole lot better if I would have used white for the words. Or white for the background and had the words being in the blue and green.
Yeah.
So you have all these combinations of colors that you can use, and that excites me.
Yeah.
And plus the patterns excite me. I just have to get the right combination to make the right patterns pop.
Yep.
And I'm still in that learning phase right now.
Yep.
So
I know that this might sound silly. I'm bringing up this analogy just because it hit me. I was listening to a podcast that had actors in them. Actors that started off as being part of like a stage crew, so they did like more like theatrical plays before they went on to being more behind a camera.
Yeah.
So this is where they started, this is where they've gone to, but they go back to doing both because it's their career. They enjoy doing both theatrical plays and they enjoy doing things behind a camera that has a little bit more of a, you can go back to the art sort of thing. But they were talking about when you're doing a theater play, there are plays that you have to do constantly in a repeat where you're constantly doing it over and over and over and over again, where there's a fear of being too comfortable with what you think you know.
Oh, yeah.
Because they said that there's times where it's like you've bantered and you've done the practice so often and you've done the play maybe 100 times at this point. But now you're in front of people, and maybe you've even done it 100 times in front of people because we tour.
Yeah.
But then you're on stage and you forget your line.
Yeah.
Something that you shouldn't be capable of as someone who's done it how many times.
Right.
And I think that there's a level of when you get too confident, it's like your brain's just like you're being too cocky, and it fiddles with the switches and is like, oh, so you think you know.
Yeah, well, that happened to me today because I ended up having to do a row all the way over again because I didn't have enough at the end to finish the row.
Yeah.
And I'm like, where did I screw up? I had to pull the whole thing out and start over again and make sure my count was right. I missed one.
Yep, that's all it takes.
And and it messes the whole thing up. So when I keep thinking, I could have had a whole blanket done by now.
Yep.
And in the former blankets that I would make, I could get one done in a week, maybe 2. And that was, getting a whole level of blanket done that's taller than I am. And I can't even get this takes time, because you have got to make sure your pattern is working out in the yarn and on the paper.
Well, and even them, like the dude that I was listening to, both of them that I was listening to, they both kind of were like Shakespearean actors. They started off on the stage in Shakespearean plays, and they studied it. So they have like full, like very deep knowledge as to like the language of that sort of storyline. And one of them was like, was explaining that like he'd been studying it. He was very good at it. Like he had scouts being like, "You're really good at this. Like we think that you're gonna go far."
Right.
He's on stage. He is literally doing. He's one of the main characters in a Shakespeare play. He's like, and I'm sitting there with my female counterpart in front of me doing her part, and I realize I don't know the lines.
Oh gosh.
He's like, "Now, have I said this before?" Yeah, I could spout it out when I was in class, like no big deal, flaunting my knowledge anytime. But now I'm in front of people and I can't. And he's like, and I knew that I could possibly outsmart everyone in the crowd, but there was a critic there who was a Shakespearean critic, not just a person like me who just prides himself on my love for Shakespeare and being a Shakespearean actor. Someone who has studied it enough to be considered a critically acclaimed critic of Shakespeare. And he was rating me based off of other critics' judgments. And I was there, like that's how I understood it. He's like, but because I knew how Shakespeare presented his words in the language.
Right.
He's like, I couldn't remember the exact words, but I made something up using that tone and that cadence and those sort of words. He's like, the guy came up to me after and I thought he was going to nail me on that one segment because I remembered everything else. He didn't even realize I did it. He's like, this is a man who's probably watched this exact play thousands of times because that's the cadence, and yet he didn't notice because despite the fact that I messed up, I was able to make it seem real. He's like, and they're like, sometimes you can get away with it. And it's just like with us when we're doing a stitch count and you're like, I'm not going to go through 150 stitches away to get back to what I must have messed up. Yeah. I'll stitch it up. Post-done products, I will add a stitch here and make it work. But sometimes you can't make that work. No. And in those moments where you can't, you're just sitting there as like a deer in the headlights wondering if it's going to come to you because for some reason your brain freezed up because even though you've done it 100 million times, for some reason, right now is when everyone is asking you if you know what you know. And asking you to show your work, and now you're just like, I know what 2 and 2 is.
Well, this is only 45 stitches across, so you only use one yarn at a time. So if you're getting to the end and your count's not right,
it's like what?
Rip it back.
Yeah.
And get it right because when you cut that yarn off and you realize that
it's done.
Yeah, you don't have it anymore.
No.
And so I wanted to make sure I get it right, so I just tore it back and I did it, and it worked out the second time. I had just missed one stitch and that was it. Yeah. And you don't want to do that. So I
don't know. I know that we're not actors, but it's an art form. Everything's an art form and that sort of a thing. You know, acting is an art too. It's coming from a story. telling stories is an art form.
Right.
And I think that there's just a level of when you have that muscle memory that tells you, you know this, you're good at this, don't question yourself, and then instantly your brain is like, but do you really know what's going on? Do you really know if you're good at this? And all of a sudden you're like, oh, wait a minute, what was I supposed to be doing? And I think that sometimes we as even knitters or crafters do that to ourselves. We second guess ourselves and trip ourselves up.
Yeah.
Because we get so either overconfident or overly paranoid that we don't have all the tools or are not going to be able to do it, that we don't either step our toes into trying.
Right.
Or we get so frustrated by possibly lack of success that we stop and give up instead of what you're doing, which is I'm willing to keep going until I get all my kinks out because this is fine.
And I'm going to finish this this pattern. Now, if
it's a valiant effort.
If it doesn't work out, I can always chalk it up to at least I tried and I've got it as proof. But and it can always go in the dollhouse if anything else. I mean, it could be a little blanket for the dolls or whatever. It doesn't matter. But if that pattern does not work out for me, I will just take it out of my book. It's not a pattern that I want to do it again.
Just make a note in the beginning of the book, hey, don't repeat this specific format again. Keep going on.
And then I've got other patterns that I want to try and that I know that will work. And I'm trying to get in my own notebook only patterns that will work.
Yep.
So, I may have to go through a couple of them before I figure that out. But this is what it's all about for me. Trying something new, having the colors that work, and having the colors that change throughout to make it look even better when you get done, because the yarn is doing the work for you.
Yes.
And it's making the color changes with, even though you just change it every time, it's making the color changes for you, and it makes it look so much better. And that's what I want to get to achieve and figure out so that I can show you guys. And I'm waiting for that day. I've just got to get all these kinks out first. So what are you working on?
So I thought I was going to have more done, but here's the thing. I did start something, but this weekend was really weird. And it's much, I'm not going to go too deep into it because it's private, it's more family than anything, but my kids were just off. My kids were not acting like themselves, and it really just put like a wrench in the gears. Like, it was just so startling. Their behavior changes and just all the stuff that happened, and it's not something where it's like anyone's necessarily in danger or anything, it was like a funky switch and light bulb of grumpiness that just kind of perplexed us. So we were not, me nor my husband were really in the mood for much this weekend. But when I was like, okay, I'm going to start a project, I need something that's kind of like I'm interested in doing, but is simple enough to get me warming back up into getting things done. Because I have taken a break, and it was a nice break, but it was like, okay, it is the craftiest time of the year. I need to start working on my stuff. I need to start getting things done. I want all my whips done by the end of the year. I want to get my projects done that I need for Christmas and birthdays. I have things I want to do. And one thing was like, I was like, okay, I really feel the need to knit. I just want something mindless. It'll be nice. It'll be simple. It'll get my hands working again and things. But the thing was that I was going to start last night, and I wanted to start making these little like scarf cowls for the kids. Because I thought that would be kind of neat. And I completely forgot to ask the kids what colors that they'd want before I started. And so I was like, I'll start in the morning. But ironically, my best friend texts me being like, how do you interpret this? And she just sends me the middle of a pattern that she's doing. She's like, I need you to tell me what this is. And I'm like, So here I am looking at only the smallest bit of a pattern, and it's all the abbreviations and all the stuff and all the things. And I'm sitting there being like, so many of my friends that do all these yarn crafts constantly send me this where it's like a screenshot of their pattern. They're like, interpret it for me. I don't understand. I'm constantly having to highlight things and make little notes and then sending it back to them, hoping that I've made it a visual representation of what it was. But with this, she had specifically said, I want you to create a video for me. I want a video tutorial of exactly what this section is saying. And I was like, okay. So I get some yarn out. I don't even find my crochet hook. I find the crochet keychain that I have that has all the half crochet things. I get that. I get a size that works. I grab a random bit of yarn and I'm over here making like the little swatch to make it available for the complicated row that she needs me to do. And as I'm figuring that out, I realized I chose a really bad color to do this on because you cannot see what I'm doing. But then I start videoing it in the chat, in the app that she was contacting me through. But the videos only last like 45 seconds and then they cut off. So like, I can't do that. Then I try to call her, but she's actually at her job. She was able to have a break and wanted that, but she can't answer the phone because she does in-home care and it was during the night. And after all of her work is done, she's allowed to do some sort of low maintenance hobby while she stays awake for her elderly clients while they're sleeping to make sure that there is a constant presence in case something medically in need happens. She's still allowed to read a book, do have a craft, something like that, something quiet she's allowed to do if all the chores are done. So the client was still awake. So while the client's still awake, while she's at work in general, she can't be picking up the phone. So she answers the phone and is like, I'm actually with my client. And I actually hear the woman laughing, being like, oh, are you, who did you answer the phone? And, you know, was completely lighthearted and everything. So I'm like, oh crap. So the phone call hangs up and I'm like, okay. So I'm using my actual phone camera. I'm doing it. I have my husband holding my phone as I'm doing it. My phone camera stops because apparently I have too much storage, and so now I can't do any videos that way. And I'm just like, oh, I can't make a video. I can't call her. I can't video call her. I can't. So now I'm just like, how am I going to do this? And that's when I realized I could just take a photo, and every single step of the way I would edit the photo where I've made small notes for every single section and explain what I'm doing, and I'm making lines and highlighting my stitches according to those notes so that there would be separate colors, like these stitches were in yellow, so the note of pertaining to those lines that I was highlighting those stitches with a little line I would do the yellow words with, or the blue lines I was indicating those stitches with. I would have the note and the words be in blue for the blue stitches, so I would be able to give her that identification. And I was just sitting there being like, okay, I did it. And she eventually figured out, she's like, oh, thank you so much, that helps. I just could not see what they were. And I was like, don't worry, I can help, no problem. But that's actually what kickstarted me being like, I do need to do something. So this morning, I looked at my son and I was like, buddy, I want to make you a scarf. What colors? And he's like, rainbow. I'm like, I am not going to find every single color I have in the house to make you a small little scarf. No. Because in my head, I'm like, otherwise I'm going to have to find an ombre. And this whole point is to use what I have.
Exactly.
And so I was like, how about we do like your favorite color, like green? He's like, no. I was like, what if we do 2 different colors, like Spider-Man with red and black? And he's like, yes. So what I've done is I did female measurements. I went up to him and I was like, how wide is your neck? And I was like using my hand to figure out what hand position would fill out his neck the most. Use that. Cast on that many.
Yep.
I was like, that'll work because he's not around. So I was like, I have to do whatever I have on me to make a size.
Right.
And I end up casting on 30. And I'm just using a regular knit stitch back and forth, back and forth, back and forth with this red. And it's making quite the soft material. But here's my idea. I want something that will pull over his head tightly, but be snug when it hits him right here.
Yeah.
Something that he can pull off and pull on. I don't want it to be too tight, but enough that it will expand while it's on his head, but then kind of come back in so that it will be tight to him. Because my idea is that he knows how to pull on a hat. Both of my kids do. But if it's something like that, because I don't want this big scarf where they have to try to wield it around them and it could be too tight or too bulky underneath their jacket.
Or get in their way when they're playing out on the playground.
I want something that they just can pull on and it will just fit right onto their neck without choking them, without it being hard to pull out. That's about the size that can be stuffed into their hats and just be able to be on, and it's gonna smooth out enough where it's not gonna be caught in the zipper.
Yeah.
I don't want anything that's gonna be a complication. So I'm gonna make something like that. I've decided instead of going back between red and black, red and black, red and black, what I'm gonna do is it's half in red and half in black. Or I'm gonna do it where it's all in red and then put make black spiders and put it on it so that it's like
Okay.
to represent Spider-Man.
Oh, I understand. I wouldn't want spiders on my neck.
But it's one of those to represent what he.
Yeah, and I was just thinking too. Red is going to be really nice because if by chance it was to get ripped off and just thrown in the snow,
it's going to be.
You're going to be able to see it.
I already have an idea as to the colors that my daughter's going to like, but I'm still going to ask her. But it's going to just be the general same idea. I figured I'm kind of in this state of, despite how far we're into the season and being more up north in America, we're still having quite the mild season. I'm in a short sleeve shirt and I was able to be outside today without needing a jacket. It's in the 60s, more like the 50s. I was still able to survive walking around doing stuff without a jacket today. So
that wouldn't work for me, but that, for other people it does.
But it's one of those things where it's we're having a very mild
We really are.
autumn. And it's really been nice, but that means that either we're going to have a really hard hit of winter or we're going to have no winter at all. But no matter what, the likelihood is that winter is going to hit hard when it hits. It's just going to switch. It's going to go from being autumn to being winter.
It's going to be one way one day, and the next day it's going to be total.
And it's probably not going to stop.
Yeah.
And so with that being said, I'm kind of going to thrift stores, trying to make sure that I have their winter gear, trying to make sure I have stuff. But with trying to find all these deals, because I end up finding a lot of good deals for snow boots that would fit them and snow pants and stuff like that would fit them. I was what did I notice last year that they could have really benefited from? A scarf. But the scarves are hard for them to get on by themselves when they can be so unwieldy. Sometimes it's bulky and overwhelming on an adult. So it's what can I do to make it easier for them? And that's when I was thinking I can make them a cowl. I don't want it to be bulky, so I'm trying not to make it something where it's I don't want it to be something like an infinity scarf. I don't want it to possibly be something that's tightened and could choke them. So I don't want it to repeat. I just want it to be one repeat. So I'm trying to make it something simple like this.
Yeah.
And it kind of is giving me that feeling of I'm kind of preparing for their winter. I'm getting ready. I'm heading into that idea of snow's coming.
Yeah.
Trying to get my head into that game of this is the sort of season that we're in. Even if we're not feeling it, this is what we're aiming towards. And it's kind of getting my creative juices
Once it gets
flowing.
cold too, you're gonna want it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I want to have it ready because My daughter is a little bit more warmer blooded, but my son isn't. And so when he gets cold, he has a hard time getting warm.
Yep.
And it's one of those things where if I can alleviate any chill going into him, because the moment that he gets a chill, he's done.
I'm the same way.
But my daughter, she sometimes, she would come off the bus not wearing her winter jacket because the snow pants were too warm. And she wasn't allowed to take those off, so she would just walk off and walk all the way home in the wintertime with no jacket, no hat, just in her, because she's just so warm.
She is a warm person.
So it's just one of those things where it's like, I'm trying to be realistic. Something just with one layer. That's why I'm just doing this stitch where it just reverses back and forth, and it's just this nice, soft, no design, just enough where it makes a thin, nice red 4-weight worsted weight acrylic yarn become a nice thick material. Just trying to make it nice. So
it's getting easy for the kids.
Yeah, and it's also for a starter project that just kind of getting you back into swing to get out of your crafting slump that you might be in. It's a nice easy stitch that works itself back and forth where you don't even have to look at it while you're working at it, so you can watch TV or YouTube while you're doing it, and it's very simple. So I'm excited, just ready for this. It's gonna be fun. We always enjoy this time. We always just hype ourselves up to an oblivion this time of the year.
So with that in mind, we have a great quote for today. Being it's the first craftiest time of the year episode, I wanted something nice and
on theme.
Yeah, not only that, but just happy.
Yes.
So, a person who sows seeds of kindness enjoys a perpetual harvest. And that's, I don't know who it is. It says anonymous, so there must not have been anybody
attributed to the
Yeah. So, a person who sows seeds of kindness enjoys a perpetual harvest. So, make sure you're sowing those seeds of kindness so that you're getting that harvest. I love that. I have seen so many people do so many kind things over this last week. And I went to a benefit for somebody, and just the outpouring for this person was incredible. I mean, they probably raised a good year's salary for her, and then another person said, and I'm going to pay your lot rent for next month too. And so she's just like overwhelmed with all the kindness and the generosity of people, and I'm just like, I love that. I love that people are so good to other people.
She was startled with some life-altering news to learn that she has a very specific type of cancer.
And it's aggressive.
And it's at stage 4. Yeah. And it just came out of nowhere. And so she is without work. And just to see the community go from, we're probably estimating about $8,000 to it being double that. On top of other provisions being already preset, so she doesn't even have to use it right away. Was like a huge, people do care. People will go out of their way to be like, she did this for us.
Yeah.
She was there for us.
And she was she took care of people.
In
her job too.
Yeah, she tend to have a natural knack for just
taking care of others. Yeah. So now others are taking care of her. And so it's just the perpetual kindness of others, you're getting the harvest back.
Yeah, I think there's an aspect of having to be in the mindset to think that way. Like today, I'm really short on money. That's just a personal thing. I'm not trying to have any sort of pity party. It's just the truth. Kind of tight right now with our finances. It's just a fact. But today I was like, I need a treat. I went to the dollar store because dollar store pops are much cheaper than going to the convenience store down the road.
Right.
This was $1.25 compared to this same thing being almost $2-3 for the same size in a different store. So it's one of those things where it's like, trying to be wise while also being like, okay, I'm allowed to have something.
Right.
Went to the dollar store. They set aside this little basket for just some generalized toys in their store that they picked out, saying, if you want to choose one of these toys to add to your purchase, we're collecting them for families that will possibly be in need of some toys this Christmas season. And I'm like, I have $1.25. I might be tight, but I have $1.25.
Yeah.
And I picked out something that I could imagine my kids picking out. It was a little stuffy unicorn that Olivia and Kenya would have been like, okay, because my kids appreciate their stuffies. I did that, and the cashier's face was just like, oh, that's gonna be amazing. And they just read. It's like there's a sense of that might have been only $1.25, but it's gonna make a kid happy.
Oh yeah.
And I will never meet this kid. I don't have to. It's just the small, intentional choices that sometimes we have to think of that might genuinely cost us literally nothing, that will affect somebody else down the line because you set the domino off.
Yeah.
And it's just willing to be a part of that domino to benefit somebody else.
Yeah.
Just that being part of that extra push forward to help somebody
is so great.
It should mean something. It should. I think sometimes we think of things as in the aspect of what we get back, but sometimes in the aspect of giving, that should be so rewarding because you're just letting yourself be used in a way that should be almost mindless. Paying that $1.25 toy was not going to break my bank, but it was just a push in the right direction.
Exactly. And what you reap, you sow. I mean, what you sow, you reap.
Yeah.
I think I got that right.
But yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like, sometimes it's such small choices that we make where it's like, oh, well, it feels kind of silly, but all this change that you can round up at the end of your purchase that can go to St. Jude's.
Yeah.
That's only a couple of cents to me, but a couple of cents goes a long way when a whole bunch of people are doing it. And I think, and I'm not just saying this about money or buying a toy, but there's all these different things where it's like, I don't want this food to go bad in my pantry, but I'm never going to use it. Maybe someone else could use it. It gets it out of my pantry into someone else's home that could use it because they like this food.
Yeah.
There's just those small choices that you can make of, oh, I don't need these clothes, but I don't want to necessarily give them to a place where they might just be left in the back before they're ever brought out because they are overloaded with all the used stuff at used stores. So you could call up your local shelter and ask if they need stuff in these sizes.
Yeah.
You could just be like, oh, I have a couple of extra dollars. I know people, like my mother-in-law, who used to make a habit of calling like the women's shelter and be like, what is it that you need in stock right now? They would say, okay, we need maybe these feminine supplies, or some of them came in as mothers and we need diapers and wipes or things like that. And she would just go to the store and she used to say, anytime I saw in the stores like at Walmart or Meijer, cheap packs of underwear, she's like, I would always buy them and drop them off because those very specific sort of hygiene things where they cannot be reused at places like that, she would always buy them intentionally to go there.
Yep.
And it's like she just made a choice. They were just on clearance. They weren't for her. None of her family would have needed them, but she just made that intentional choice where I can pick up a $3 thing of underwear that has 12 of them and I can drop them off down there on my way down the road. It takes 5 minutes for me to pull in, drop it off, and leave. But it's just that intentionality.
Exactly.
Sometimes we have to get ourselves into the mindset of it doesn't have to be so far out of our way to just care.
And the random act of kindness always pays.
Yeah.
You may not see it right away, but others are going to benefit so much.
I remember when I had missed an obvious exit on the highway, and it was going to take me so much longer to just get around to where I was going to go because I missed that exit because it was like right there. And then I had to go all the way to the next exit and it was going to take forever. But that exit that I ended up going to, there was a homeless guy and I happened to have extra granola bars because I had bought extra for food, cars snacks.
Yeah.
for the kids, and I grabbed him, and it looked like I was the first person to have given him anything, and I was just like, I happened to miss.
You know that wasn't...
But it was just one of those things where it's like sometimes just being willing to let yourself be used for the right reason.
Yeah.
Being mindful of things that literally cost you nothing, but you're able to just take that extra step.
Right.
For people you might never know or see again. Really means nothing, but is everything this time of year. Every ounce of the year it should mean something, but especially around times of holidays, people tend to have a deeper seated feeling of loss when they're going through hard times and they feel like they can't get out of it, because these times of years always pulls on our heartstrings for past memories, past people that might not be around us, or the feeling of emptiness when people are not around. So when we can be more intentional this time of year, it can possibly be what someone needs to not sink deeper into a bad place that they don't need to be in, because Christmas can be it has a high rate for self-harm and depression. When we sometimes take for granted that we have family that we can go to, that we have a way of celebrating it.
So, a person who sows seeds of kindness enjoys a perpetual harvest.
So, let's get ready for our good harvest this year.
Yeah, that's right.
This craftiest, cheerfulest time of the year.
Yes.
So, as always, we hope that you enjoyed our rambling. This was kind of a longer episode for us than what we've done in the last couple of weeks, but we hope that if you've made it to the end, we appreciate you.
Yeah.
We do really genuinely appreciate you. And we hope that you come again for next week, where it'll be our second week, and you'll see where we're at in our progress. And again, feel free to share with us where you're at, what you're doing. You know, you can share our video with anyone who you feel might reflect if they're kind of doing this bit of a countdown for crafts that they're trying to do heading into this holiday season.
Yeah.
You know?
Give us a like, subscribe, and share with your friends.
So, as always, we hope that you enjoyed this week. And until next week, we hope that you stitch your way
to mental health.